Now, Britain's Mark Cavendish came into this year's Tour widely acknowledged as the fastest sprinter in the world. Over the last few hundred metres of a race, nobody could touch him. The problem on this year's Tour wasn't the last few hundred metres, it was the 150 kilometres or so before that. If it wasn't the organisers putting in uphill finishes, it was the peloton lacking organisation and failing to pull back breakaways in time. Whatever the reason, 4 stages into the race, Mark Cavendish hadn't had a sniff. Stage 5 was the longest of the entire race, 232 kilometres, which took the race across country from Cholet to Chateauroux, almost in the centre of France. It was the flattest too, with almost nothing to break the journey except the feed zone 100 kilometres in, and no excuses for the sprinters' teams if they let a break survive. Poor old Mauricio Soler didn't survive the neutral zone. He came off before the race had officially started and decided, injured as he was from stage 1, not to get back on. Alejandro Valverde went down too once the stage got going, but he was quickly back in the race and seemed as happy as a 5-year-old that he'd have some scabs to play with back at the team hotel later on. The daily break went away to no one's surprise, and to no one's surprise but great British frustration, the sprinters' teams, Mark Cavendish's Columbia included, looked in danger of miscalculating the catch once again as they wound up the speed in pursuit of 3 escapees on the run into Chateauroux.
We are now at 6 kilometres to go. We are 28 seconds still to the good. These boys now are living on pure hope, and they have led for virtually the whole race today, the longest stage of the Tour. But Team Columbia have got to the front. The rider in green is also Columbia. That's Kim Kirken, who's got himself into the picture. Lockvist is there in the white jersey. It's all Team Columbia right now as they try to line out for Mark Cavendish.
Yes, but waiting to take over on the right-hand side. A little bit of a problem here. Looks like there's a crash on the left-hand side of the road. There's a rider gone down very hard. He's come into contact with a spectator.
Well, that is a real shame. Collision with a spectator here. They look okay. Let's hope so. Well, the race medical people will be on hand. The rider who had the collision there is Passeron of Sonia Duval. He looks across at the spectator. He gets back on his bike, but outside, lose time here. He's outside the 3 kilometres to go. Back to the action here now. 24 seconds to go. 5 kilometres the banner. They are still there, and they are still racing to the finish. But Paul, Team Columbia and George Hincapie had to get up there, has now got themselves organised.
Yes, and if Team Columbia start to fade over on the left-hand side, you've got Francis Desjeux behind them, waiting to take over as well. You've got Team Quickstep for Gert Stegermans. This is keeping the pace nice and high. This is Marcus Burkhardt going through there at 5 kilometres to go, and they're still looking for around about 20 seconds. The main field are going to judge it to absolute perfection here this afternoon, but you know, the sprinters are all very nervous now. They haven't had a serious crack at a victory here this afternoon. A little bit further down on the left-hand side, you see the yellow jersey, Stefan Schumacher. He's riding in the front because he wants to keep himself out of danger. Thor Hushovd will be in there somewhere as well, but look at the movement. Everybody's very nervous this afternoon.
Well, 8 of the 9 members of Team Columbia are up there, and here comes the rush now by Liquigas because they're trying to bring Kiki up there as well at 4 kilometres to go. I take my hat off to these 3. We can see how quick the peloton is going. These boys are hanging in there, 20 seconds still in hand.
20 seconds is really not very much at all. That corresponds to around about 300 metres advantage for these 3 men. It probably is not enough.
19 seconds lead, just inside 4 kilometres from the finish. Team Columbia have got hold of the Tour de France by the scruff of the racing shorts and have put all of the team on the front. It's all for Mark Cavendish right now, but there are plenty of others trying to break in here, particularly the team from Italy of Liquigas. There's been a crash on the bend. One rider on the floor. It's a Gerolsteiner rider who's got caught out. A teammate there of the race leader. I'm just trying to see who it is, Paul, but it looks to me it is Hausler, the Australian-German, who's caught the edge of those cobblestones. Maybe we can see it again here.
Well, that's where it happened. In fact, he touched the wheel of the rider in front. A rider from Lampre in front of him slowed down just a little bit too much. He rear-ended him and then went down, and he looks as if he's in a serious amount of difficulty. Gerard Porte, the famous doctor of the Tour de France, is up there alongside him.
Well, it's Thomas Lockvist there, the new young rider in the white jersey, who's doing a sterling performance at the front. He's dropped back a little bit now as the other light blue jersey of Team Columbia. They're trying to deliver Mark Cavendish to his first ever win of a stage of the Tour de France here. It would be a huge result for the team and for him and for the American squad as well, as Liquigas are losing firepower. They've only got 2 men left up amongst the front runners. Watch the left of the picture here, because these riders in orange are bringing Oster Freire, the big sprinter from Spain, forward. And on the right, Barlow are looking to bring Robbie Hunter. At 2.5 kilometres to go, this is now not for the nervous.
These are the 3 leaders, and they're still leading inside of
Brilliant.
2 kilometres to go. They are holding on, and I don't know how.
Well, they've blown our computer out of the water, because they are still up there now at 1.9 kilometres to go. They're trying to bring Sebastian Chavanel through in the white jersey team of Francaisia. Big George Hincapie back and driving the front now, because they're trying to keep the race so fast nobody can catch up with the leaders of the peloton. And this is what Mark Cavendish needs, a real shot at the finish, because he really is the fastest man over 200 metres.
Well, he is, but he's got to be in the right place. He's got to make sure that the doors are open in front of him, because you can be the fastest man in the world, but if you've got riders in front of you, there's nowhere to go through. Eric Zabel is not far away from the front end of the main field now. Nicolas Vaugondy has thought about this one. He is going for one last burst here, and he's looking to see whether he's going to spot the last kilometre. This could be an impressive turnout for these guys, because they may well just survive.
The final throws of a man who has been in the lead for 220 kilometres today, as somewhere the champion of France has found some power in those pistons we call legs, as he races now towards the finish. The other 2, I think, will be swept up. They have really diced with it this time. 1 kilometre to go, and one man, the champion of France, is still away.
He's still away on the front of the main field. It was the man who wears the green jersey leading them out, and that is Kim Kirk, and the riders from the breakaway have swung over now. They don't want to create any accidents, as you can almost see and feel the pressure in the main field. They feel that they may well have lost this one, as they're looking to pull back 250 metres inside of the last kilometre. It's Quick-Step on the front end of the main field, but Vaugondy here could very well have created a massive surprise.
It is a long straight sprint here, but for Vaugondy it is a greyhound rush for the line. Don't look over your shoulder, because there's still a chance here for the champion of France. A desperate effort after leading for almost all of the 232 kilometres. Mark Cavendish is bursting out of the pack. He's had to make a run very early here. He's challenged by the sprinters. Look at the speed of Mark Cavendish here. As we get the shot, he's wiped out the champion. Mark Cavendish, the youngest British rider ever to get a stage win in the Tour de France.
Well, God forbid Mark Cavendish should win a simple sprint to open his Tour account. The catch was in doubt until the closing metres of the longest stage. For a few seconds, he seemed not to believe it himself. Then suddenly the world speeded up again, and he was in one of those finish line scrums he'd watched on telly growing up. Race officials clearing a path for him, and teammates appearing out of the crowd to celebrate with him. Then the podium music, the girls, the flowers, Bernardino, for goodness sake, and the winner's interview.
What was said before this stage? Because the way you rode as a team on this stage, it really looked like you targeted this one.
I woke up this morning and I said to the lads, I'm going to win today. I just feel it, you know. And it sounds arrogant, but I prefer to say it on the line of confidence, you know. We got such a strong team here, and we showed that. We've shown that the other days, and we had to come away with the stage sooner or later. And after the other day, I wasn't going to let them down.
You're a confident lad, but the knockbacks, the setbacks, when it doesn't go according to plan, it doesn't change your belief, does it?
Oh, not one bit. You know, it's at the end of the day. The Tour de France isn't the only bike race in the world. The Olympics isn't the only bike race in the world. I think a lot of I know British fans think that's the case, you know, and they don't appreciate how much I've done in other races, you know. So at least I can show you that I am the fastest guy in the world. And well on, Cav. Thank you.
Suddenly Mark Cavendish had become one of those people whose mobile number is gold dust and whose time is no longer his own.
Go on.
Mum, I'll call you back. I'm on the telly.
Sorry, Mrs. C, but I hope you enjoyed the coverage, and I'm sure he called you back. Dinner at the Team Columbia Hotel came with a glass of red, champagne's reserved for the yellow jersey apparently, and the feeling that the wine waiter might be needed again before the tour was over.